Okay, so round number 3, I asked you a question when we were doing the pre-podcast interview, and I said, how do you teach entrepreneurship? And you said daily living. And I was like, what is that? And so I saved the question, but I'm asking it now. What do you mean by daily living?
So this is why I believe that the home and families and parents and caring adults are so important to this process, because there are things that we do as parents that either foster a very entitled behavior, and there are things that we can do as parents that can foster a very independent, self-reliant, entrepreneurial mindset. So it's daily things. So for example, I have a few things that I kind of talk about. One thing that I say is make them pay for their wants. When you think about it, our kids don't want for anything because we give them everything. So it's like, okay, well, whatever. So that, first of all, is make them pay for their wants. That's what we've done when our boys, I think when Silas was 4 years old, we made him buy his own bike. And the way he did it was, we had this thing called daddy dollars. So I made up a dollar bill and I stuck my husband's face right in the middle of it.
That's
and
awesome.
So we had daddy dollars in the mommy store. And so they would earn daddy dollars by reading books, by having good citizenship in the home, behavioral. And so I think the requirement was that he had to earn $250 daddy dollars in order to get a bike. That would translate into the funds to get a bike.
So cool.
So make them pay for their wants. So that's what we started. Secondly, I say reduce their prosperity. And what I mean by that, kids have everything. And you think about a kid in terms of the electronics. I mean, kids have thousands of dollars in electronics. So you punish a kid and you say, go to your room. They're like, okay, because I got.
That's where they wanted to go.
Yeah, that's where they wanted to go. They got everything they need. So
Yeah.
there's no want, there's no need. We also say, as you shared earlier, we homeschool. And so one of the things I say is let them be bored. See, parents feel like we have to entertain our kids all the time. And so again, that's not them taking ownership and responsibility for kind of entertaining themselves and figuring things out. And when they are bored, creativity does not, it's hard to be creative when you're in a frenetic situation. Your brain is just too cluttered. And so I say let them be bored because I want to give them that space to just discover and explore.
To create.
Yeah. Exactly. The other thing that I talk about is using technology as a tool and not a toy. And so what we do with our boys is, instead of just spending hours and hours playing we don't even have a video game player at our house. But instead of doing that, it's like, okay, well, you want to do something, then okay, why don't you build a YouTube channel on and maybe create experiments, so there's a reason. So it's no longer a toy. It is actually a tool that's going to help you advance in some way.
It's like that kid, the number 1 earner on YouTube.
Which one?
He makes, I think it's $20-some million. He's a kid. All he does is he unboxes toys.
Yeah, I think Evan HD or something like that.
Name,
Yeah.
I'm totally envious.
Yeah, I know, me too.
It's so crazy. But yeah, that's a prime example of turning a technology into a tool.
Yeah. And then, and we were talking about this before our meeting, I'm also big on letting them lead. Parents, we often speak for our kids. Ultimately what I think is we raise our kids in a bubble to protect them from everything. And so what I'm basically saying is like, just let's take the bubble off. We don't have to, our kids shouldn't have to be 18 and go out into the real world. This is the real world. And so let's just start making it happen now in our home. And you can start it in their home. They pay for things. We make our kids pay taxes. So when they earn money on their own, they have to pay taxes. So we divide it up, and the taxes go to like a communal fund that pays for a communal benefit, just like taxes in general, right? And so those taxes, we may then use those funds and go on a little trip. And that, maybe the taxes that they pay can't pay for the trip, but it might pay for an excursion, right?
They should listen to my recent episodes. It's about how to cut taxes for entrepreneurs. I'll make sure to.
They might want to listen to that
I'll make
one.
sure to clue them in on it.
Yep.
But then they'll need to start buying real estate and things. So
Yeah.
they'll come. Yeah. That is so cool. So the biggest question I have from that whole thing is, where can I buy some daddy dollars?
Yes.
We have to sell these at
Right.
Lurn. Like, it has to be his face on them too. Like,
It's a funny picture too.
But that is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, because I think about my own nephews and just they ask, I give.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm like, I just, I'm only going to see them 3 times a year. I don't want to give, but I love the idea of make them earn for it.
You want to do that. Because, and sometimes my friends are like, oh, Tamika, you're so hard with your kids. But I know my vision and my sight is on the man that I'm raising.
That's awesome. In the meeting that we had, I joke, but when I walked in, I loved that they were there on their chairs with little notepads in front of them, although they were doodling half the time, but we engaged them.
Right.
And it was kind of funny. I said, well, we are here to discuss how to teach kids how to be entrepreneurs. Right. They really are the board of directors in this, and multiple times you engaged. There was a story you could have easily told, but you asked your son to tell it, and he did a great job, and he participated, and I caught that. I was like, that was cool. And they're participating in the meeting, and they're taking ownership over it. So that was really awesome. So number 1 was make them pay for their wants. Number 2 was reduce their prosperity. What an interesting concept. I think parents try to go the other way.
Right.
Let them be bored. That was awesome. Number 3 was technology as a tool, not a toy. So challenge them to use their things around them as tools and not as toys. And I love the little examples. I think I want to talk a little bit more about this in round 4 when we talk about intentional education. Okay. The taxes thing we've got to talk
because I have a
more
couple
about.
Other things on there that I do also with the boys too.
For intentional education?
For, how you at home, what you do.
No, let's keep going. Are you kidding?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
daily
the
living.
other thing is don't answer their questions. And so, it's like, what? So my kids are always asking me questions like, well, because our kids want our approval. And so they're always asking, well, even things that they know the answers to. It's like, the answer to this, but they're always looking to us for that validation. And what I want to empower them is like, no, you can figure it out. So they might say, well, Dad, what do you think about this picture? Do you think I should do it like this or like this? So then, what I would say is, well, which one do you prefer? I mean, what do you think you should do? And they're like, gosh, I knew you were going to say that. But it's easy for us to answer the questions because also it's quicker. It's like, I got stuff to do. Okay, yeah, just do that. Yeah. So it does take time as a parent when you take this approach, but I think at the end of the day, it's empowering to our children. So I say don't answer their questions. And then the other thing is let them be delight directed.
Okay, what is that?
Yes. Yeah. So we homeschool our children, and just think about your life, Anik. What you do, you are led by your delights. You do the things that you enjoy. And that's earlier when I said I followed the rules, I did this and this, but this is missing. And I think that's missing for most people is that they're not following their delights. They're not delight directed. And so what we really try to do with our boys is let them explore their delights, because it is through the exploration of their delights that they develop skills and talents, and they discover, you know what, I don't really like this that much. So and that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. Is that it allows you to go deep into your delights, and that's what we're doing.
And it's to have the courage of, if they don't like something, don't force them to keep doing it, because exactly. How many parents just push for that. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I think in the adult world we talk about it in terms of passion. Right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I get up, it's crazy. As years go, I'm getting up earlier and earlier and earlier. I'm just ready to go. Right. Like, I want to start the day because I got things to do that I'm looking forward to, not dreading. So, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. It doesn't make sense to me, because for me, I don't care. Actually, if anything, Fridays suck for me, because I'm like, dang it, we have to take a 2-day break now. Like, where's my team? Let's go. Like, let's push harder. I love that, delight directed. What if, so like a question there, like what if they're not delighted by math? and they don't want to do it. So how do you draw the lines?
How do you do that?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So what you do is, and this is why entrepreneurship, I think all of the skills that you need to be successful in life, it can be learned through having experiences in entrepreneurship. So and actually, can I just tweak that a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Writing. My boys, I don't know. I was an English major, but I'm not necessarily a prolific writer. I'm not writing novels. And, my boys don't necessarily enjoy writing. But right now, Silas is trying to raise money for Tanzania. So we're going to Tanzania, and everybody has to pay their own way. And the tickets to Tanzania are like $900. So Silas is coming up with different business ideas in order to get there. But Silas, what he likes is he likes science, and he likes doing experiments with his dad. And he likes doing experiments that go boom and pop. So I said, Silas, I was like, I know he doesn't like to write, but I said, what if you wrote a book with the experiments that you could share with other kids and stuff? He's like, I like that. So he got online, he started researching experiments. And so now he's writing, right? Because he's writing, okay, you need to do this and do that and put this together. So now he's written a book, his ebook is called Boom, a parent's guide on fun experiments to do with your kids. So he has written this ebook, and so that's been a way for me. And so now I edit it, obviously. I'm like, okay, well, you want to tweak this, you want to do this. But because he was directed by his delight in the science and what he wanted to do, then doing the writing piece had a purpose.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you added a why.
Exactly.
Yeah, you added a why.
Exactly.
And that's so true, because I hated writing too. It's my first D-. I tell the story all the time. It's first class I got a D- in, and I was like, what am I going to write anyways? I want to be a doctor. I'm going to write prescriptions. This is useless. Right. And now I'm a copywriter. Yeah. That's my claim to fame. But now I understand writing. It's to create influence, and I like that. I like to be able to create influence in someone talking about something I love. Mm-hmm. So you're so parents, instead of shoving this topic down, this is where a parent has to go to work, right? Because it's a lot of work to figure out how to change the paradigm of the whole thing. That is so cool. I feel like we could stop right now, and you should write a book about parenting. Just like straight up, like parents. Like so far, we've not even really talked. It's just like good parenting, like how to create like good people, not even entrepreneurs. So really cool. This is really awesome. Anything else on this particular one?
The last thing that I would say is give them ownership of things. So one of the things that we've done with our boys, and I started with Silas. So Silas is really the guinea pig, right? Because he's the firstborn, right? So
is he the oldest?
He's the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's 13. He's the oldest. So it's like he gets it first, and then the other two. Right. Exactly. So I read this great book called Capitate Your Kids.
Okay.
And I was like, capitate? Capitate, like, I know decapitate.
I was just going to say, I thought decapitate.
Right, cut off their head. I do want to do that sometimes, to be honest. But actually, capitate is a medical term that means contract. And so anyway, this book is all about kind of creating contracts with your kid. And there was something out of it that I loved and that I'm doing with my boys, each one progressively, but giving them ownership. And so with Silas, it's ownership over his clothing budget. So clothing isn't a want, right? It's something as a parent I need to provide them. Now, Jordans versus some Payless shoes, there's the want versus the need. So what we did was I said, okay, here on an average year, you're going to need this many pair of shoes, this many shirts. So we kind of went through the whole wardrobe. I then had him research online how much for a pair of shoes, how much for t-shirts, how much for shorts, and kind of did this in a spreadsheet. And then we came up with a budget, a final number. Now, some of his t-shirts were like $30. I was like, no, I'm not budgeting 10.
It's like a real life budget. He's trying to slip a few things in
I'm
there.
like, TJ Maxx, please. And so anyway, we ended up with this final number that now he has complete control over. So the idea is, kind of fund it on a monthly basis. When he says he needs to go shopping, it's like, okay, here you go. I don't get to make the choices. I don't get to say, no, you can't buy that because it's too expensive. Okay, it's like, well, you only have this amount of money. So if you want to spend that much on that, that's fine. That's up to you. You just may not have money for such and such other piece of clothing that you need, but this is yours to manage fully. It's all you.
You've turned their life into a business.
It's the world. It's real world.
It's real world.
It's
yeah,
real world.
Like, so they can earn and spend more.
Yeah.
Or save, or do you so for example, a couple of things, like what about like giving back? Is that a part of the process?
Yes.
Do you because that's actually something my wife and I forgot to talk about. We wanted to ask then when we do the workshop for these children who are doing the business fair, we wanted to see if there was like at least a 10-minute little segment about just kind of trying to teach them, because it's really big for Andrea and I. We like to really teach people to give back.
Yeah.
We don't care where they give, what they give, but like to innate. Do you build that into your?
Yeah, in fact, is in the workbook. One is we talk about being a force for good. How you use your business. It's in the section where kind of your solution.
Got it.
But it's about being a force for good. So yeah. So remember, I told you we make the boys pay taxes.
Yes.
So they have to pay taxes, they have to give, they have to spend, and then they have to save. So we kind of break that all out. So yes, because the thing is I want our boys to be entrepreneurial, but I don't want them to be jerks. I don't want them to be, kind of stingy and not willing to give. We actually had an interesting experience just this past week. So I said Silas is trying to earn money, right? So he's hustling, right?
Yeah.
So he was out selling bracelets. He has his ebook that he's getting ready to put out there. And he's selling sneakers right now. Okay. So a person from church gave him like 20 sneaks, right? Jordans, LeBron James, Prada, Whoa. Louis Vuitton, all of these really nice shoes to sell, right? And some of them actually fit Silas, right?
Okay.
And so my mother had asked Silas, and she said, "Are you going to give maybe a pair to your brothers?" Silas was like, "No." And so, we took that as a learning opportunity to say, you know what, you were blessed with somebody just giving you all of these shoes because they want to help you get to your goal. And your brother, or someone asks you for something, it's not gonna, you're gonna make the money that you need to get that airline ticket and more than likely, based on the number of shoes you've gotten. We want you to really think about other people and not have this mentality like, oh, I got to keep everything, there's not enough. That scarcity,
which most kids innately have.
We have it as adults.
We have it. Yes, you're absolutely right. So that is so cool. So yeah, you're right. You just basically, I feel like he's gonna listen to this like 10 years from now and be like, man, I was being tested on, but he's contributing to the world. He's making the world a better place. So many kids are gonna be so much smarter.
I say they'll thank me when they're 30.
Well, they will. Yeah, because I did. Right. Honestly, I thanked my dad when I was 30. When I was younger, he taught me to save. And the deal we had was, if for every dollar I put into a savings account, he would match, because he was trying to get, because I would, it wasn't even in like one hand and it was out the other one. And so he saw that trend and he put a whole pile, and lo and behold, I started saving because I saw the concept of, but the other thing was I couldn't touch the money then. Once it went in the account and he matched it, then it was there and it was growing. And, but I thanked him a lot for all of the things, kind of the core behavior patterns that he helped me build in my life. Wow, very cool. So many examples of daily living, and I bet you're listening right now, and I bet you like 99% of you listening aren't doing any of these. So this is a great opportunity for implementation, execution. Again, I will take a commercial break again and again during this episode, which you guys know I never do, but I love. This is the workbook. If you're watching on YouTube, physically, you can go and just go to lurnworkshop.com, LURNworkshop.com/raising, and you'll see a link there to the digital version if you want to grab it at Lurn on lurn.com, or you can get the physical version. You have to have this. This is just too important for kids, even for grandparents. Get it, and you can work with your grandkids. Shall we move on to round number 4?
Sure.
All right. Awesome.